listening to that weird preacher talk about Babylon. I can't remember what the video is called, but I've just posted it now. There's a guy who was talking about Babylon. Should I get it up? Where is it? Oh, most Christians don't know this about Babylon, and it's in answer to Genesis, answer to Genesis. But yeah, I was watching that video, and okay, the guy is kind of crazy because he's insulting Babylon, and he doesn't realize that he himself is actually part of Babylon. I would say that Babylon is a woman and a place, yes, but I feel like in the Bible it's spoken about, the people of Babylon versus the people of Jerusalem. The difference is the people of Jerusalem are people who have accepted me as Christ, Anna as Christ, who accept that God is a woman and Christ is a woman, and they accept my sort of teachings or something. Even though I myself don't know everything. But yeah, and then the people of Babylon are people that just kind of live with me, who make huge amounts of money, and who might know about me, but they don't actually know about me. Okay, I'm a bit confused as to who actually knows about me and who doesn't, because it's been 10 years and I know a lot of people have known me, about me, and I think are helping me, but I'm actually very confused because a lot of times I still think, do they know about me? I don't know, but I want to tell the story of how, if I was to make a movie about Darla, which is Eve in the Bible, I wouldn't call her Eve because Eve is just tied to a weird biblical story that just is full of nonsense and stuff. So I'd call her something different, because to make it clear that the Eve of the Bible is actually just a fictional character that's based on some sort of truth about Darla. So yeah, how it started is that there was like a semi-evolved Neanderthal who got pregnant and had Darla. So this is kind of like the Neanderthal, and this is Darla. And I think when she was first born, the tribe that she was in, they had fur, but it wasn't like complete fur. So I think skinning and the practice of skinning, I don't know about fire. I feel like I don't, because I don't know what age this came. I mean, I'm guessing at 23,000 years ago, but that's just a guess. I'm always wrong on dates, so maybe I'm wrong. I think you can find out the evidence because they didn't have language, they didn't have any form of communication other than sort of growling or like weird ape sounds. So if you can find when the first form of writing is, and date that via technology or whatever, it was before then. If you find the first house or the first temple or whatever, it was either that time or before that. I don't think I was in China or anything though. So if you find some ancient temples in early China, I'm pretty sure it was before that, because I'm pretty sure that if I would have come down, I would have come down to the smartest souls on the planet. And well, if there was smart souls in China, that would probably have come from my line. Hence, I would have come before that. So whenever the sort of earliest sign of real intelligence came from, and not, I'm not just talking about a stone. I've seen some stones where they say, oh, this is the first sign of intelligence, and really it's just a stone that's cut out with some sort of form to it, and it's just like, yeah, no, that's not intelligence. So I probably came a long time after the first stone weapons were created. Stone weapons, monkeys can create stone weapons, so that doesn't mean intelligence. But yeah, so I don't know when the date is, but it would have been before writing. But yes, and I think when I was first born, I had far more, like I was hairy. Like imagine just a really hairy woman. I was kind of a bit more like that. But the group that I was born in were kind of, I don't know if it was full fur, but imagine like what's the wolf syndrome. There's like this wolf syndrome where people look like they've got fur all over them. I feel like that's the sort of furnace that they had, and because I had no fur, I think from very early age I was seen as different, and they you're skinning. If you don't clean it properly, it gets infected, and you have to keep throwing it out. It gets smelly, and I felt like after 6 months they rejected me and my mum because they didn't like the idea of having me as a burden to have to constantly do more skinning and keeping me warm. So I felt like they were rejecting me, but that was actually a very good thing. Why? Because they were very rough towards their kids, and it was probably would have been very not good to be in that kind of environment. So it was better. I think after 4 years, I think that's she started meeting up with the group again and started getting more into the group. I think a lot of the guys had died by that point, and so it was mostly a female group. But she did get pregnant again because I think it was mostly like they had like the dominant males, and then they had a group. She might have not actually got pregnant that way. She might have actually got pregnant by one of the males being rejected from the group, finding her, and then getting. Because I had a sister. I know I had a sister. We'll bring the sister in there. Sister. Um, that's Maya, by the way. I don't know. I would love to have a conversation with her to see if she remembers anything, but because I think she's had 10 lives, like I think most people, most singers, I think, who are, or most people who are intelligent have had 10 lives, and therefore it's very unlikely that she would remember anything. Why? Because if you do remember anything, it's more likely going to be something from one of the other lives that you've had. But anyway, and then so I think that, yeah, for the first 4 years it was just me and my mum, and then my mum got pregnant again, and then there was another kid, and then after another 2 years, the group that rejected her, or maybe a different group, I don't know, that she rejoined with the group, but it was mostly females this time, and then I think we just did lots of scavenging and walking around, and it went up to Baghdad eventually by the age of 12. I think that was when I met like a different group, and I feel like the same thing's going to happen kind of in this life. Only this different group that I'm going to meet is, I guess, the singers and celebrities who know things, and I'm not really sure what they know, or what their plan is, but I'm hoping that something like this is happening. Why? Because I don't just want to sit here the rest of my life, in a small house, being confused as to why no one's talking to me. So yeah, anything sounds better than that. But yeah, that's how it happened. So that she met this group tribe when I was 12, and that's when I got pregnant again. And I think the guy died straight afterwards, and then was reborn in my stomach, hence why the father and the son are the same person, and why I have very confusing feelings, or had very confusing feelings towards Martin, because on one hand I felt like he was the father, but on the other hand I also felt like he was my son. So I was just like, well, how am I supposed to feel? I don't know. It was a bit confusing, and I just feel anger towards him now because I can't believe that he's ignored me for 10 years, and anyway, and then so then we after getting pregnant and going, I think I gave the birth was in Jordan, but we were still like traveler groups at that time. No form of settling had actually been done. And then when we got to Jerusalem, I think I was about 2. No, the boy was about 2, and I was getting older. I think the baby was getting heavier, and I was actually kind of like, I think I was like a leader of the tribe from quite a young age because of my intelligence of, I don't know if I was the one who created fire, but I feel like I was very good at making fires, and or houses, or I when I was a kid, I did do this course where we sort of built up, it was just a day thing, but we built up lots of tents using sticks and tried to weave them together and stuff. And I just feel like that is like a sign of what I might have done for the group, like helped build houses. But when I got to a certain age, which would have been 14, I feel like I wanted to take it further and started doing mud houses. And well, this is when you have to settle, because you can't spend, if you spend like 3 days doing a really nice house, or it's not a really nice house, but whatever you can do in 3 days, you don't just want to leave it a week later. And I think by the time I got to 14, the houses that we were creating were starting to be so nice that we didn't want to leave them and just have to go and start up a new one. And so we started, I think the first farm was probably olive trees. That's what I would guess. Because I don't know anything about growing, but I know that if I was focused on it, I'm sure I would be able to grow some olive trees, like getting the seeds and planting them, or figuring out. I'm sure I would be experimenting by the age of 14 to try and grow farms, but it wasn't proper farms because we didn't have like tools to cut crops and stuff, or flour. I don't really know, but I think that was the first farm was probably a bunch of olive trees, and then we started with other ones, and I think that was when we first started farming. Although I don't know if there'd be any traces of that left. Probably not. But yeah, and then so I'd say like the people of Babylon are just the people who were there, what are around around Allah before that time, and the people in the modern day version of this, the people of Jerusalem are actually people of like her children, or the people that she's actually teaching and working with and working around. And I know I haven't had children yet, but so I still feel like I'm kind of still in the earlier stages maybe of this bigger picture plan. But yeah, I I feel like that's the real one. So if any preacher wants to go around preaching about how awful Babylon is, they have to bear in mind that they too are actually just Babylon. Why? Because they're making money from their preaching. They're making money from all the things that they're doing about me, because they're actually just talking about me. And they're taking the wealth of Babylon, the wealth of me, because you're living, I'm Christ, and you're living on the same planet as me in the same time frame, and you're making money and wealth off my religion. Only you're telling it in a very different way, because you're giving all the praise to the Father. But on the other hand, I kind of want all the praise to go to the Father. Why? Because I want people to reject me. Why? Because I am God, and if people want to reject me, then I want them to do that, because I want to reject them back, because there is way too many people here, and the more people that reject me, well, I like to treat people in the same way that they treat me. So if they reject me, I will reject them. The difference is I am God and they are not. And if they reject me, they might find themselves going mad, or they might find themselves dying and coming back to life as an animal, which is a very good thing, because animals are very nice, and hopefully in the future there's not going to be as much animal cruelty and stuff. So but animals can be very happy, and they don't destroy the planet as much. And there's so many people here. There is so many people here. This guy in this thing is talking about how he doesn't want to that God has said to come and you must multiply, spread and multiply and be fruitful and stuff. And he's just saying God has not like told people not to stop. And I was like, yeah, I have actually, I have, but I've done it spiritually, and I feel like the people that are most connected to me can actually feel what's going on. But the thing is, though, because people are connecting me spiritually, I don't know actually who's on my side and who's not. Because this guy who's, turning people against me by making people worship the Father, technically that's not against me, because that's actually kind of what I want. I want people to turn to the Father. Why? Because the Father is probably well, the Father's able to do a lot more things than I am. If the Father represents just world leaders or just